Sure, yeah, we'll start. Okay.
That's the intro, guys. Hello, you're listening to Intrusive Talks. I'm your co-host Connor. I've got Mudit here with me as always, and we've got a very special guest today.
Yes, a big special guest for all the people who are celebrating the festive season, whether it's Diwali, Halloween, Eid, Hanukkah, or Christmas. We got the winner of the Raw Comedy Quest of 2024. It's Jasper Poole. Hey, Jasper.
And by special, they mean I'm very special needs. I'm very special needs. I'm a special needs comedian, and they've taken some charity work for me. So I'm happy for them.
Bro, we had one rule: don't call them special. What the fuck?
No, that's all good. I'm very special. But yes, I won a special needs competition. Full of very special comedians. Elliot's very special. Very special. I'll even say Tim's very special. Just because Tim blocked me and, calling him special. No, he's cool, I like him.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, that is kind of fun. That is a good take, like the raw kind of thing. It is like the amount of different things.
Every comedian is special,
It's a very good place to put some very socially maladjusted individuals, and since they're very socially maladjusted, they can sometimes say very zany and funny things, and that can make people laugh a bit. So, Elliot made people laugh when he punched babies. He punches a lot of babies.
He's talking about a comedian for context, if some of you are confused.
Yes, I am talking about a comedian.
Well, thank you for coming, Jasper. But well, you won the competition. How was that feeling exactly? Like when your name got announced, Jasper Poole is the winner of the Comedy Quest.
It was weird, but I'm happy I was able to make it that far. It felt very surreal. It felt very unreal that I won because people in my friend groups don't usually know me as an amazingly funny person, and I would say that I'm not an amazingly funny person. I'm kind of okay at some level of performance and stagecraft, and that comes in very, very handy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. So that allowed me to win.
That's pretty cool. Because what do you get when you win?
I get $1,750.
That's pretty nice.
Well,
That's pretty nice.
It was because the runner-up got the rest money, so it was supposed to be $2,500, but the runner-up got the $750, and he got the rest of the money.
Is that usually how it happens? Yeah.
I think so.
And that's usually how it should be.
It's like the best payday in comedy for like.
Did you have to pay taxes on that?
No,
tax-free money. Damn.
I don't know. Is it tax-free?
Well, did they? I mean, if you can
just say it's a gift, mate.
Yeah, just say it's a gift. Yeah, just say it's crypto money. Crypto money. Well,
crypto money.
I think you've got to pay tax on crypto.
Oh yeah, I'll pay some tax.
Well, you have to pay tax.
I think you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Have you used that money so far, or you're just saving it?
No, I'm not going to use it. I'm not sure what I'm going to use it on.
Mm-hmm.
I'll figure it out at some point, but it'll take a while. But yeah, that's what's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, just trying to think a little bit. It's been mostly a very chill week.
Yeah.
Elections coming up. Which is all right.
Who are you voting for?
Who am I voting for? I can't vote for anyone. Yeah.
Well,
it is interesting, man. Like the thing coming up because they're all doing podcasts now. All the Republicans are doing it.
Yeah.
I think Kamala did do some, but.
Do you think if one of them, whoever loses, will start a podcast like on a regular basis? The reason we lost is because this episode.
I reckon if Donald Trump had a podcast, it would surpass Joe Rogan's, bro. Like
Trump would have his podcast wouldn't surpass Joe Rogan's, but that's okay.
I don't think so. He will surpass. No,
because he just kind of like rant about himself, and then people would refuse to go on his show. And then since he's really old, he'd get dementia and.
Well, that's Joe Biden.
Well, I reckon he could do a solo one, bro. Like he could be like a Tim Dillon.
He's not good. He is too reliant on reactions.
Yeah, he just talk shit.
Rest Home podcast.
What do you mean? He does like whole rallies where he's just him talking.
Yeah, but it's also like there's people listening to him. They're cheering him. So he's not that kind of person where you put him in a studio.
Yeah,
and
if he had a producers and stuff.
Yeah, it's not
He's,
gonna work.
he would just treat it like a rally. He's not really good at interviewing people because it's not in his nature.
Yeah.
It's not in his nature.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a cultural performance going on at the moment out there.
Say again?
I think there's a cultural performance going on outside.
Cultural performances
Do you
get
hear the
produced
music?
everywhere, but it's
Yeah.
just a fashion show.
Speaking of that, every time I've seen you doing sets, like you have this tagline where you ask people their special interests. How do you got into that? Like,
Because basically I didn't really know what to do. I made a joke, and it was a joke about cum being racist. And then I didn't have any other material. And after I kind of bombed on the joke, I figured I might as well just talk to people about their special interests. And I did surprisingly well, and I got a few laughs that way. So I talked about their special interests.
well,
It is a very effective way of doing crowd work. Like,
It
I've seen
is
you
a-
do it, and you go around to everyone.
what's your favorite one you have got so far? Like a moment from that, you know?
My favourite one so far?
Yeah.
Someone said their special interest is horses, and I responded and said, "Did you know that horse dicks are really, really huge?" You don't have to laugh, it's okay.
It's just
Was it a girl that said it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
That's why it'd be funny, man. Just
Oh.
imagine.
It was kind of funny, but yeah, that's cool.
well, my favorite moment of you performing was on your semis when you just went after all the comedians after that.
I went after Fintan Walsh, yes, and Fintan Walsh is a lovely person. I'm sure he's, what does he strike me as being? Fintan
You were
Walsh-
there?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay.
I missed his. I
Fintan-
missed both of them.
Fintan Walsh is like, I don't know, he's just like a social climber dude who works in property law or something.
Well,
okay.
so he had some, to defend that guy Fintash, he had some jokes about Gen Z. He was making fun of Gen Z. Now Jasper is doing his normal set, and
Yeah.
out of nowhere, he's like, what about that Fintash guy? And then just started roasting him.
Yeah,
like,
I
started
imagine
roasting
Bill
him.
Burr, but just just going on going. And
Fintan Walsh is an okay guy.
I don't know if we've met him.
nah, you probably haven't. He
Probably
just
not.
has been at the classic, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Jasper, like, he was like, because he was so much in the zone, he just looked up in the balcony. He's like, that guy over there, that's a douchebag. He just pointed at a random guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you get nervous on stage at all? Or
Do I
you
get
feel very
nervous?
comfortable?
I
Because you
get
seem
nervous.
very comfortable.
I get nervous beforehand, I get nervous a bit afterwards. And I used to have very chronic social anxiety
Yeah.
to the point where I couldn't really talk to anyone, but then I was able to treat it in a lot of ways through going out there and talking to people.
Yeah.
And that's the way that anyone can treat it.
Yeah.
And basically, I was able to learn how to talk to people more and more through that.
Nice.
Who's your favorite comedian?
Probably, I'm not so sure. I've always liked Bill Burr, for
Yeah.
example.
I can see that.
That's basically the
Yeah.
case with a lot of people. He's
Yeah.
very good. What Bill Burr does is he takes something that appears to be high and untouchable and reduces it into something that's really, really low and really, really stupid. He's able to do that quite
Yeah.
effectively. But what's your two favourite comedians?
Mine. I like Chappelle. Chappelle will be one. I like Shane Gillis. That's one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like a few of them, but like these are like my two top.
I think the
now.
guy who I connected with the most first and then made me want to start doing comedy was Jim Jeffries.
Mm-hmm.
Even though our styles are a bit different. And stuff.
Yeah, I see.
he's
What do you
very-
like about Jim Jeffries?
I like that he was Australian. It's funny enough because it's like, oh, someone from Australia, someone from New Zealand could actually do this.
Yeah.
And make it.
Yeah.
And it was also like his stories I thought were really
Mhm.
good. Like, he had these massive long stories which was full of different jokes and stuff. The whole like his
I see.
gun control bit was quite
Yeah,
funny.
that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you watch a lot of comedy? Like that's what got you
I've
into
been
comedy?
looking. No, that's not what got into me into comedy. What got me into comedy was a breakup.
Oh really?
Oh.
That's happened.
Either it was making music or making jokes. Nice.
That's how a lot of people respond in a sense
Yeah.
when they're feeling grief. But that's what got me into it,
Yeah.
and it's different for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that I was able to do well. There are people who are far funnier than me. I don't think that comedy is an art as well. I think.
Fair enough, bro. Fair enough.
Talking about your dick size is not art on stage.
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not. Let's be honest.
It's not because it's not an art site. It's not an art, and there's a lot of reasons for why that's the case. Because it's a skill that people accumulate through conversations with other people.
Yeah.
And as a result, they kind of are able to rehearse it on stage a little bit later on.
Yeah.
And so it's more, I guess you do have to develop the ability to like develop stage presence. But overall though, it's not a skill that you have to spend hours and hours every single day trying to do.
True.
It's like, it's simply not the case. You have to spend hours and hours trying to learn to play guitar, to do a certain sport, for example. And comedy, it's just not the case. It's not an art.
But you do have to spend time doing it to get better. It's just
yes,
you need
do.
an audience to do it. Is
Yes,
the
you do.
problem.
Yes,
you
you
can't
do.
spend like 6
Yes,
hours
you do.
a day.
Yes, you do. And what I think people need to do very, very much is to overcome fears and stop being as risk averse as they might otherwise be. People who are very risk averse don't tend to do as well. That is one thing that I have actually noticed. For instance, and people who you need to basically speak the unspoken in a way, and the more that what you speak when it's unspoken, the more what you say is truthful, the more it's going to resonate with people.
True.
Okay,
Damn, I have never thought that much about that.
You really analyse it, eh? Like,
Not
really,
necessarily, but
not analyse it, but you've got a good way of breaking things down to kind of understand it.
right. So this is something that I think about a fair bit. But say, for instance, there was one comedian who spoke up during one of my Raw nights, and she did a whole bit, and she said, "Lol, a lot of us," and she's like this, she's this white lady, and she said, "Oh, lol, a lot of Australians are really like super racist, eh?" And that was kind of her bit where she expected a laugh in a way, and she may have gotten a bit of a sympathy laugh, but she did not get a massive. She did not get a massive laugh at the end of it, which is that.
It is interesting. Cause
I mean, it's not that what she says isn't true, because there's definitely truth to it, but
what you were saying earlier, I do get, like, if you're risk averse, it's not going to work out. Like, what you were saying, like, if you're going to say something edgy, but you're scared to say that thing that's edgy, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Like, if you're scared while saying it, like, you need to be confident.
You need to be confident, but also, as well as that, you can't do comedy from a state where you're very overly socialized. And that was, I think, the problem that she had, which is that it's kind of like a very typical thing that you would say in kind of like conversations with people, and it seems like something that you've kind of heard before and seems kind of simple, and as a result the message it's not a hack thing to say, but the message falls flat. Because
it's just, there's nothing unpredictable about it.
There's nothing unpredictable. And the same goes for people who basically, what's his name, Tony Hinchcliffe, he did that joke about Puerto Rico, and I thought that was a bit of a hack bit. And the reason, and it also sounded very, very basic as well. And as a result, it didn't kick through. The joke just sort of bombed. And I think that basically he was in this sort of right-wing echo chamber where he expected people would resonate with him just calling Puerto Rico a floating chunk of garbage. And when he spoke on stage, he realized that the crowd did not resonate with that. So basically, he was over-socialized in this very conservative, very right-wing ecosphere.
Well, it's interesting, because your material's not going to work the same with
it's also
audiences. Like, I imagine in Texas and stuff, it's like, I've heard other comics talk about it, and they're like, oh yeah, then that joke works and stuff. It's like, when he does it on his show.
It's because his show is like, so like, just the way it's been designed is like, be as edgy as possible. We like that, like that.
And my jokes would not work in different audiences. It would not work with a Wellington audience, because
I doubt it would work at a Trump rally either.
People would not like what I'd say. It would come across as being crass, kind of like edgy, and the Wellington people are kind of like very socialized, very, very differently from the Auckland people.
True.
And
from cultures.
Yeah, and to a certain degree, people from Wellington as well are kind of like. I
love this. Let's just shit on Wellington.
They're kind of like they're more stereotypically woke, and they have like very fucking low. Not all of them. A lot of them don't. There's a lot of cool people from Wellington, but there's like a lower base level of like verbal intelligence.
Connor's from Wellington.
I'm not from Wellington. Do you take that back?
There's a lower base level of verbal intelligence, and no, I'm not being.
Well, I think they're going through it at the moment.
No,
it is very like. Was it like? They've gone very. I don't know how to say it. Like, they've gone very like lefty policies, but it's not really working or something, or they've just got a lot of homeless people. I don't know if that's.
They have very less homeless people.
They have significantly less in Auckland.
Really?
Well, when I went there
Auckland is
last
more
year,
spread out.
It's a city, and there's a lot of major social services that get provided. This is a natural consequences. You have more homeless people in those sorts of places. But Wellington City Council is dysfunctional for its another array of reasons. Wellington, but yes, basically, what was I going to say?
Something. Sorry, okay.
It invites. Wellington has a thing where it invites a lot of alternative people to come there.
Yeah.
And people come there if they want to form their own sense of identity, and a lot of that comes from a sense of being ostracized from wider society, in a sense. And there's something about that also means that basically sometimes as well you can like be very fearful of what other people say, and that's a consequence.
Well, you can take a lot more seriously.
I actually take back what I said about Wellington.
What I really found weird about, like, strange about that place was that it's really quiet. Like, me and my friends, we were there for like a road trip, and this is on a Wednesday, like around like 12 or something, midday, which is a working day. I found like people, like, it felt so quiet there. Like we felt like we were being loud for no reason. Like we were talking on this pitch right now, but it's so, and we were on the main city, like the viaduct of, I forgot the name of that place.
I know.
It's so quiet compared to what you see in Auckland. Like, it's really, really quiet.
It's kind of weird, but I don't dislike Wellington. There's good things about it. It's embracing of different.
Are you from Wellington?
People. No, I'm not. No, I'm just analysing. I'm just analysing a place that I've never lived in.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I know my mate went down recently, and he was saying I think he was saying the main difference. Maybe it wasn't that there was more homeless people, but it's how homeless people interacted with you down there versus
very nicely, like, excuse me sir, can you give me
a change?
Not really,
they were more like aggressive.
More aggressive, okay.
They were more like, come on, you got some money? Like, give me some change.
Wellington's weird, but I don't know. I don't hate the city. I don't particularly love the city either. There are lots of flaws with different places.
True.
I know, I haven't been there.
Either way.
You've not? Oh.
Well, I've been there like when I was young, but I haven't been like as an adult.
Well, once you've been there, and if there's nothing like, again, you want to go and see, until there's ever a reason, let's be honest.
Are there a lot of, fair enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bit of a comedy scene there, so it'd be cool to go down and do some gigs.
There is a comedy scene there, but the jokes, I would say, would not necessarily fly well there. Well, actually, a lot of them would fly well.
You can just give it a shot, if you go down there sometime.
You know what? I've been bashing them too much. They would. A lot of the jokes I say probably would fly down there.
To be fair, I wouldn't even say, like, it's a city audience. Like, within the city, there's so many different audiences you can get. Like, even up here, man, like...
Yeah.
Well, it's also, like, venues, also. Affect how the comedy comes across.
They have this place called the Fringe Bar. That's the classic of that city.
Yeah.
Fringe Bar.
That's fair. But, there's a lot of different people I actually kind of like. A lot of Wellingtons.
Before I forget, by the way, we got nominated for the best podcast in Auckland.
That's good.
Awards.
That's good. That's good.
And I told Corin, hey Corin, please, it's Intrusive Talks, not Thoughts. I don't know who nominated us with Thoughts. Like,
it wasn't us. It was a different
You're not
podcast.
being very intrusive, but that's okay.
Well, please vote for us.
No one.
But there's other things as well that I guess is kind of worth talking about, which is I don't like comedy that is kind of like everyone agrees this one thing is racist or wrong, and then you get a cheap laugh out of it. I don't like that, and I don't like the opposite either. I don't like it when basically it's bashing on marginalized groups either. I think that's genuinely a cheap tactic, and I think that's a bit stupid as well.
Well, you like smart comedy.
I guess I like smart comedy.
Yeah.
You remember one joke you have heard from any comedian, you're like, wow, that's a great joke? Any joke so far? Any Bill Burr joke or anything? You're like, whoa, this is really good.
I like a lot of Richie's jokes from that final, and
Richie,
yeah, and I also like Laura's jokes as well. She didn't make it to a semi-final, but she should have. Where because she kind of brought up that any dog's name can be the name of a dude's junk. Whip it and pug.
Nah, that's a good joke.
They all sound like dicks.
Yeah.
So that's what I found funny.
Yeah. Every female dog's name can just sound like a stripper. Roxy.
Yeah.
Vixen. I don't. Yeah, what are female dog names? Poodle.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I'll just give them like normal. But imagine you met like a dog called Leah. Like, it just feel weird.
I have my cousin. His dog name is Stupid.
That's stupid. I don't know. Are you into dogs, Jasper? Or not?
I have a pet dog named Obi.
Nice.
He's cool.
What's his name?
He's a whippet. But what kind of stuff are you two into? Like, do you have any special interests?
Special interest. That's a really good question. I would say comedy is my special interest at this point of my life. Like, to be honest, I don't.
Mudit's obsessed with comedy.
Fair enough. What kind of What are some? Are there things that you wish you could say on stage but feel like you can't?
Ooh.
The letter R.
Say it.
Not really. It's like I just feel like I haven't earned it to like say some edgy shit with. That's what because when I started, I used to write some edgy jokes, but like I realized that when I look back at them, they were really bad. So like, not really at this point. Like I haven't I don't think it is something I.
Are there any experiences that you've had that you think could translate well to an audience?
Like previously?
Yeah, or things that you are interested in that you could talk about. What's something that you'd like to? What's something you enjoy discussing? Anything.
Tell you what I do. It's really weird. I watch a lot of like D&D videos / lore things and stuff.
You could talk about that.
But I don't even play D&D.
Didn't talk about it.
In that case, I like filmmaking. I like to watch making process of films and shit.
Then you could joke about that on stage. That could actually work. Because it reflects something that the audience will see as being part of you, and that's kind of funny that you're interested in something that's kind of niche and kind of like you could talk about that.
I would say that's my special interest, like filmmaking. Now I realize that I like that process and everything.
I did notice some things about the jokes that you say. I would say that you're not as self-deprecating as me. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, no. I mean, I have some. I have some.
Some of them.
I have some. Like probably the ones you heard were like not the ones I wrote for self-deprecating. They were more like I don't know which ones you are talking about. If you remember.
I'm just trying to think because the first time I heard you speak, were you at Potter's Park?
No.
That was Sid.
That was Masu or Sid. No, I was not. I've not done Potter's Park for like years. Like it's probably like the last time I was there was like.
That's so good. That's so good. I pulled a bit of a racism, but
well, that's fine.
Is it fine?
It's alright. It happens, bro.
It happens. Connor didn't even knew my real name till 5 years.
I was telling everyone I was doing a podcast with Vasu.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
No, but it was
good.
No. Oh no, yeah, it's interesting because self-deprecating can work a lot, but it's also it depends how you do it. Because I've noticed it where it's like some people, like New Zealanders, get very touchy on like kind of self-harm jokes or self.
Like
if you say something about how you're depressed or like. I don't know. Have you noticed that?
What's an example?
Well, I don't know in Auckland, but in Whangarei when we did the show, when I got on stage, the show was really going well, but then I have this bit about going to therapy and depression, and they were not liking it. They don't like that kind of stuff over there. That's what I've observed so far.
Why don't they like it, you think?
I I think it's something that's really sensitive in that city because of the cases and everything. Like,
I think New Zealand as a whole, it's very taboo, like suicide, because it happens a lot here.
Yeah, so probably that.
I think that basically a lot of people know in their heart of heart that they get told that it's a good idea to discuss how they're feeling and that if they're feeling lonely or depressed.
Yeah.
But they know that's a lie.
Yeah.
They know that's a lie because they know that the more you bring it up, the more that it will actually create stigma for yourself because you'll likely be seen as weak.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not necessarily sure that's the case, but I think it's the case in a lot of instances. So there's actually, in a lot of circumstances, not that much benefit to talk about how you're actually feeling. And and when people know it's a lie, and when people bring up that sort of stuff, it brings up the kind of bottled up sort of resentment or the fact that in their own lives they may not.
I think people go to comedy to escape.
Yes, they go there
so they don't want to get brought down. They
don't want to get brought down, but basically, I don't know. I think it's kind of like this, which is essentially.
And they don't really want to hear your problems.
No, they don't. They don't. They don't. They don't.
It's funny.
They don't. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
I mean, like,
and also, go on.
As bad as it sounds. Have you ever been stuck in a conversation with someone where it's like they're talking about how
they're trauma dumping or something
trauma
like
dumping
that
and stuff, and it's like, I feel bad for you, mate, but this is really just a buzzkill.
Yes, that's true. But in a lot of circumstances, when people say the word trauma dumping, what they're essentially meaning is, I don't want to hear about your problems.
Yeah.
And actually, in a lot of circumstances, I'll say this, the people who complain the most about trauma dump are also the kinds of people who trauma dump themselves a lot on others.
Yeah.
And then when they get that same dynamic brought up in their face again, it's like, oh, fuck, I'm being reminded of my own shit again. I can't just offload it. So that's the kind of thing that comes into play.
Well, it's like people who complain about gaslighting. It's the same thing. Because they'll be like gaslighters themselves.
Yeah.
Well, not always. There's a lot of cases.
So in conclusion, if you have trauma, shut up.
basically, what I'm saying.
Shut up.
What I'm basically saying is.
I get what you're saying. Yeah,
you can't pretend to be open about things that you're actually not. And some rural communities, they probably a lot of the cases they have fuck all resources to deal with these sorts of things.
And they're affected the most usually.
It's like, you know.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's like.
It's also another thing I find with self-deprecating humour that I think happens a lot in New Zealand is you'll say the joke and then they'll go like, oh, or something.
Yeah.
Like they'll feel bad for you rather than laughing.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, I'm comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable. I'm not sharing my struggles. I'm actually making fun out of it.
There's a lot of different reactions you often get. Yeah. I've had people after my shows that have kind of spoken to me almost condescendingly as kind of being the autistic guy in a lot of instances.
Yeah.
That's happened.
Does it actually kind of bothers you? Because they keep on it feels like they're just they're being nice, but also do you feel like, oh, why do I have to deal with this every time?
They're fine. They think in their own eyes that I'm kind of like a comedian and I just kind of can joke about it, but it's fine, I guess. Or maybe I'm just saying it's fine. But either way though, it's not the end of the world, and people have to deal with worse.
Yeah, true. That's really good. People have to deal with the worst. That's really good.
I think we're giving the podcast to Jasper after this.
Yes,
this is Jasper's podcast.
Not necessarily. But basically, yes. There's a tendency in this country for people to pretend to be able to offer support to others and not really be able to do that.
Yeah.
The government operates under its own sort of constraints of austerity. And people, either through social conditioning or through evolution, don't always like to discuss these sorts of matters.
Did you see that guy? What's his name? It's Mike something.
Yes.
He gets he gets funding from the government for his program, but he was on News Talk ZB, and he was like, alcohol's not bad for depression. Also, I know he was talking.
Oh,
he's been getting a lot of controversy.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
I mean, what he was saying was, it's a way
To deal with depression.
To deal with depression, where people are like, that's very destructive to say.
Which is he a politician? Right?
No, he's like, he runs the mental health.
He runs the mental health foundation,
charity.
and he's saying just drink alcohol. Okay.
Well, he's kind of.
He wasn't saying just drink alcohol, but he was saying you shouldn't ban it from depressed people.
Okay, I get the point he's making, but probably the way he said that at that time was like making him look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Because I did got sent a video about that. It was like a Simpson video where the guy's like, drink beer and depression goes away, and then people were like, it's the Mike guy. I'm like, who is this Mike guy? So I was like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. And then I've also heard there's groups as well that are that initially appear to offer people mental health support, but what they really want to do is they want to turn you into a soldier.
A soldier,
like World War III.
Well, basically, religious groups.
Yeah, religious groups.
Religious groups, like the New Christian groups. There's like the New Christian within their ranks, including often their leaders, are the kinds of people who desire some form of domination, and that is actually often a lot of the root of their religiosity, not the other way around.
Yeah.
But do you think that's like majority of Christians, or like just few of them?
I don't. You get it with everyone though. Like there's a lot of people like social dominate. It's just if you have something where there's a hierarchy to it, people might abuse the hierarchy.
The vast majority of Christians are not like that. No, and I trust Christian sects that are more old and well established, because they can adapt themselves over a long period of time to fit the community's needs. But with a lot of evangelical and a lot of Pentecostal groups, they don't give a shit about love. It's like you join us, you're part of the flock.
It's culty,
and you're led by a couple of people.
Well, there's difference between religion and a cult. Like that's the thing.
The cult
will like love bomb you to start with, and then
there's a number of things that are worth talking about.
Well, that's the thing about cult. Oh, speaking of cult, have you guys seen this movie Eyes Wide Shut?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, that's not even about a cult. That's just like it kind of is about a cult. That's just about like that's just like how to describe it.
Have you seen it?
I know what it is.
Yeah.
It's basically in the 1990s. There was kind of like an emptiness to everything that was kind of shown in media.
Yeah.
You basically had films like American Beauty, and basically
it's kind of like now.
It's kind of like one of those movies that about people who nihilistically go through sexual experimentation.
Well, it's so it's Tom Cruise. He's extremely wealthy, and he finds out about this secret party, which is basically people wearing masks and everything, and it's like just sex orgies and everything. And he gets caught at that party because he was new.
Is this coming out now?
No, it's a 1999
Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, Stanley Kubrick old movie.
Stanley Kubrick, right? Yeah.
I thought you were saying.
So I saw the clip of it on Instagram, and I was like, oh, this looks interesting, I'll watch it. But then the part of that which was actually really amazing about that is not amazing, but like the interesting part was there's like a 45-minute segment of that movie that was deleted.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, that was bit. Yeah.
Funny because Tom Cruise does all his own stunts. Yeah. So when there's orgies in there,
well, he didn't even fuck anyone.
Basically, like
that's a good one.
But basically, it's kind of like Stanley Kubrick. He became very rich very, very quickly and accumulated so much fucking wealth. And then at the end of it, maybe he felt like a certain sense of emptiness, and it's like, what do? I've accumulated all this status and all this money. Oh, I guess I'll go fucking a lot. That's what he'll do.
Well, it was kind of like just, these secret parties exposure and everything. But like, when I found out there was a 45-minute chunk of that movie that was forcefully deleted, like what exactly can you show? Like when even Hollywood, like people
that's probably too accurate to what was going on in Hollywood.
Yeah, probably.
It's probably
too accurate. Yeah, I know what you're implying, and I don't know what the truth is. Maybe basically Stanley Kubrick showed someone's tits on camera or some shit.
Well, there's too much tits in that movie,
and then the actress didn't want that to be shown. But or maybe it was like implying some, casting couch or Jeffrey Epstein
that's
situation,
the rumor,
sort of like Mulholland Drive. But you'll hear those rumors go around for fucking ever.
Yeah,
but it's really creepy. The movie is really gives so much creepy vibe.
It's meant to
like
be creepy.
There's like certain scenes where it's not even like a ghost or anything, but you're like, whoa, this is really well shot for a horror segment. But,
are you into films, Jasper? Or?
It's Eyes Wide Shutters. It's kind of like a cross between American Beauty and Logan's Run. If you've seen that, you've seen Logan's Run?
No.
It's kind of similar to that though, but it's basically like there's this utopia that people they have sex freely. And they live hedonistic lives, but they get vaporized and killed at the age of 30, and there's this big carousel. Yeah. But it's very reminiscent of what you saw in Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh, nice.
Well, are you into films?
I'm into some films, not all of them.
Yeah. Which, like, one movie you see?
I like the movie Baron Munchausen.
I have no idea what that movie.
Terry Gilliam movie.
You could have made that movie up, bro. It's like,
what's that movie? I have not seen it.
It's basically about this guy called Baron Munchausen who does these fantastical things.
Yeah.
And I like the message that it has, which is essentially sometimes it doesn't matter if a story is real or not, just so much as it inspires people.
Yeah.
I'm a strong believer in people's belief to create their own future and their own lives.
Well, that's a lot with comedy too. Like,
yes,
it doesn't matter necessarily if the story's 100% accurate. Like, you can take leaps and stuff with it to make it interesting.
It's also about personal truth.
Yeah,
as well.
personal truth.
Yeah. You don't have to have real true stories for that. Like,
well, it's like you can't. It depends what you're making up. Like we saw with that one guy who made up like a story about him facing racism.
Who did that?
It was like Hassan Minhaj.
Yeah, fair enough.
He got controversy because he made up a story about how some girl wouldn't go to prom with him because he was Indian.
No. It was more like...
Was it a stand-up bit?
Yeah, he did it, but he did it for sympathy, not really as a laugh. Like, you know how you're saying, like, those jokes where it's like they kind of pander, like they just say something that people
I don't know.
agree with?
I think Hassan does have some potential to be
funny.
No,
he's got funny bits and stuff. I think that was just the thing where it's like
it was more than
where it doesn't work. Where you
it was more than that, because then there were more stories where people threw like gas bombs at his home and everything, which like leads to like next level. Well, as the thing, like if you're making it funny, that's different. But if you're doing it for sympathy, then you're like, oh, you're just making this whole scenario fake for getting sympathy. That's a different scenario. So
yeah, fair enough.
Like you can make that thing and make it funny. That's a different thing. But
no,
like the machine story is not real.
Yeah, like Bert Kreischer, all his stories
are not
very
real.
Exaggerated, but you enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, they're not real stories.
Just wondering, but how do you like see the world? Like, do you have a philosophy or?
The world. How do you see the world? That's really.
Sometimes I have a philosophy, sometimes not.
That's okay. We don't all have to. I don't always have.
Do you have a philosophy?
No, I was just kind of wondering. I was kind of wondering what kind of like things you want to do in the future, or what your life's goals are.
Ooh, damn.
It's hard because you can't exactly plan everything out. You know, like you can have a rough idea of what you want to do.
What do you want to do? What's your after winning the Raw?
I'm still figuring it out. I'm not going to become a comedian, and I don't have the potential to be that. Basically people like Richie, Tim, even Evie as well have a lot more versatility in that sort of regard.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you'll keep doing it though? Like,
I'll keep doing it for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, there's going to be a place where I'll walk to where I can't walk further.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like the way I see stand up too is, I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah. I'll keep
it's the
doing
thing.
it.
I feel like you can get very like caught up in like, all right, how do I progress from here? How do I progress from here? How do I progress from here?
But then
you gotta
that's the thing. What's your goal about that at the end? Like, whatever you do in your life, you have to like. If you want to go further, you have to keep on thinking. Like that's the thing. Like either you can be stuck at one position. You're like, yeah, I'm fine with this. That's fine.
But it's also like it can ruin it for you. If you feel like you're like, because that's when you start comparing yourself to what other people are doing.
Yeah, but that's how you learn. You know, like it shouldn't affect your life, but you can learn. Comparing cannot. Why does comparing always has to be negative?
It does. It's not negative. I'll be fine. I'll make people laugh in the future. But overall, I don't want to do stand up because
that's everyone.
It'll project myself to the world in a way that I'm not quite ready for.
Yeah,
that's fine. Like everyone has their different.
It's also interesting New Zealand because most of the people doing comedy, I feel, well, a lot of them are quite young. At least. Actually, maybe not. Maybe I'll take that back.
No. Like Ben Hurley and all these big people are
in their
late
older.
40s. Yeah.
But like, yeah, never mind. I guess you would have young people at our level. Because it kind of sucks if you're like 50 doing it. Like,
I mean, there's certain stages where you're like, okay, I need to like maybe do something. Like, it's like, how long can you be a struggling actor for? 30?
There's a tendency for a lot of people I know who are like, kind of got nothing into their lives by the time they're quite old, in their late 20s, early 30s, and they identify as artists.
Yeah.
There's that tendency I noticed, but not everyone can be an artist. I'm not an artist, and I'll never be an artist. And
well,
you know, not what do you want to do, or you're not really sure?
I'm not really sure. I'd like to ideally go into more activism sort of stuff, potentially for the Disabled Students Association. I probably will actually become their administrations officer in about a day or so. But the reason why is because I don't think imposter syndrome exists. I think that people feel imposter syndrome when they realise that a lot of other people can do the job that they're doing.
So it does exist. So you're saying?
No, I'm saying the imposters. I'm saying they're just imposters.
They're just imposters.
They're just imposters.
When people talk about imposter syndrome, they want to say that, I feel this guilt because nobody else can get to where I'm at. Where actually millions of people can get to where you're at, and actually it'll take a lot less work than what you might think. So when I talk about imposter syndrome, there are so much more people in this building and everywhere who are smarter than me, who are funnier than me, who can do what I do, who can do stand-up, who can win the Raw Quest. But there are just vacuums, and the vacuums that get filled up by people who are thirsty and desperate for power or desperate for attention, and that happens all the time. There are some people who go into a stand-up scene who I don't like, but that's fine.
In conclusion, fuck the system.
Yeah, like I think a lot like the funniest people I know and stuff don't do comedy. They don't do comedy because it's like
that. They don't. Yeah, and that's unfortunate.
Do you think it's because the fact that they can't handle the fact if they don't do well?
No, I don't think it's that. I just don't think they have an interest in it.
They don't have an interest, sometimes they're socially anxious.
Well, if you're good at badminton, you don't have to play professionally. That's the thing. You don't have to.
It's like they might just not be interested in doing stand-up.
That's the thing. What I'm saying.
But they'll be like the funniest people in the world.
Yeah. But it's I don't know. A lot of people get to certain jobs just by like going through each sort of vacuum, then going through the next vacuum when a position opens up. Like I'm running against someone who is not the best. But
are you running for?
I'm running for the role of administrations officer, and the guy who I'm running against, he was the head of the Wellington Disabled Students Association, and then he fucked that business up.
Really?
And he got that role because nobody else wanted to run for the president of the Wellington Uni Disabled Students Association. But he gets to project to the whole world that look at me, I'm this big advocate. I'm like big in the disabled community, which is no. You saw an open position and you went for it and you got it.
Are you doing this at URA or AUT or?
I've been the head of the University of Auckland Disabled Students Association.
Oh, really? He's trying to take your place?
What?
Is he trying to take your place?
No, he's in Wellington.
Oh, he's in
We're
Wellington.
not even competing. We're competing for this role.
Oh, this role?
No, for the National Disabled Students Association.
Interesting.
Well, if he's from Wellington, he's not worthy enough.
But you're the head of Auckland's one.
I was the head, but to be honest as well, you can't just hold on to a position forever. You've got to be able to pass the torch at some point, which is what I did.
So do people vote on this, or is it
people do vote? People do vote on it, but I don't know. The point that I'm kind of getting at is that.
Do you think you get into politics later on?
Maybe I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be interesting.
Politics. That would be fun, maybe.
Yeah. Do any of you have political views or?
Not really.
I don't know. I'm like, very easily gaslit into different fucking politics. So I'll just swing around like in a constant circle where it's like, oh, so like this is dumb, then this is dumb, and then this is dumb. I don't know. It's really annoying. Like my mate talks about horseshoe theory, where if you go too far one way, you just kind of end up at the same place as we.
People get very touchy about politics for no reason.
I like to stay kind of in the center, like.
It's kind of well. I think everyone tries to do that, but then here and there, where you see, as you're saying, you see stuff of someone, you're like, oh, this makes sense.
Well, I think like New Zealand politics frustrates me because I don't think any of them are any good. That's the thing. Like,
well, there's not much going on all the time.
It's just very stagnant at the moment, and it will be not forever, but it will be for a period of time.
It's just that's the thing. Like
Christopher
Christopher Luxon, the Prime Minister of the country, is doing TikTok dances right now. So like that's what we have right now.
Oh no, I just think since I became an adult, because now we've had both parties, and I still feel like both of them I end up worse off. Like.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Like, with Labour... Oh, actually, Labour actually did stuff where it was, like, raised minimum wage, but then everything got more expensive.
Well, that's the thing.
That's the thing. And then... But then, National that came in, but now I've got to pay double the bus fee I was paying before.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, no one, like, actually... Yeah, you don't get, like, the full...
Yeah.
What do you say? Like, oh, this is what I wanted from the politician. Like, I got it. Like, no one has ever said that. Like,
but I want that. I want what the boomers had. Where it was
$2 for mac and cheese.
A lot of nationals politics is not based on any ideology, just kind of like interest groups who support it.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Christopher.
Because you were saying you do like policy making?
Public policy. I'm not going to get into public policy anytime soon.
Yeah.
But that's
fine. Be a hard
that's
thing
kind of
to
what I expected.
Get into though, I guess.
Yes. And it'll be hard to be in there for a while.
Yeah. Well, that gets very...
although, as I said before, imposter syndrome doesn't exist in a lot of people.
It's like, you know how we were saying like certain people are just interested in becoming comedians. Like, it's like the same with politics. Like, so many people, it's like, oh, they'd be a great leader, but they got no interest.
Yeah, because they don't want to get into, I think, the involvement that requires for being a politician. You know, you need to deal with fucking so much every day. But what was your speech like when you got the
you
prize?
Have to do a speech?
I thought that was mostly a bad speech that I gave.
Not a speech, like you don't have to do a speech, but you know what he said like on stage.
I basically said that imposter syndrome doesn't exist. It's just imposters, including me. I'm an imposter.
It's so funny.
I wish I had said that comedy's not an art; it's a craft.
But I just know you saying imposter syndrome isn't a thing is going to trigger so many people.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Well, not trigger people, but there'll be people who take it like, oh, it's such a thing, man. Like,
it is such a thing. Come on.
No, it's not.
Get over yourself.
I like the ways. No, it's not.
You're very like just fact based.
Yeah, it's not. Okay, shut up.
You can do the job or you can't.
It's like, why'd you do that? Why not?
Okay, there's some things that you mean, like you can't just go out there and play the trumpet.
Yeah.
Or I guess that like if someone's been groomed for the Olympics.
It's kind of weird because to be in the Olympics you have to be groomed for it.
But for like most
from a young age.
Yeah, but you know.
Oh yeah,
but for like someone who's advanced into sort of like a corporate role and becomes a manager or becomes an exec, and it's like, oh, I have so much imposter syndrome because I came this far. It's like, no, you don't.
That's the thing, man. Like people
need to chill.
Or like activists and politicians having you to feel that.
Yeah.
Well, that was like just like so like savage straight to the point. Yeah, imposter syndrome doesn't exist.
And like so many people who talk about are so whiny.
Yeah.
I'll
tell you what I like about you though is you'll do like when you're doing your comedy and stuff and building out for the wall, you do gigs outside the classic.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that hurts a lot of like new comics where it's like
they're not
only
used to
gig at the classic and stuff.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Yeah,
you don't have to gig outside classic, but just
fine. I think you do if you want to.
But that's the thing. Like
I think you do.
In New Zealand, that's you don't have to. In New Zealand, you can. Yeah, you keep on performing well at the Classic, whatever time you're getting. Yeah. Maybe you're getting big shows. From there, you get like, some big comedian sees you performing because he was on the same lineup. So that's the thing. You have in New Zealand. I think you don't have to.
No, I think you have to do other shows to progress at the Classic. Like you can't just do Raw every month and then get put on.
I think that a lot of the people who, I don't know, there can be sometimes little cliques that form, and sometimes people get elitist when it comes to comedy. But
what's been your worst gig, if you remember?
Potter's Park. I just left mid stage.
Really?
Well, no, I wasn't even on the stage.
There's no stage.
I left like that little patch of grass and walked home. But I didn't feel bad about bombing or anything.
Yeah. So,
I'll tell you, I had an interesting experience on Tuesday where it was like, I bombed, but then I just felt good for having done a gig.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was really weird. Like, if you haven't done, I find that like if I hadn't done one in a while, I got real grumpy, and I was actually in a happier mood, having bombed it.
Well, it's like you did it. That's the thing. Sometimes just pushing yourself for doing a gig is also like can be really challenging. Yeah. But the one what I meant was that like the one which you did and you actually was like, whoa, why did this happen? Like when you bombed hard. Like the Potter's Park is different.
Potter's Park, you kind of know it's going to go.
I bombed hard at Potter's Park, and then I bombed again at Mission Bay.
Yeah.
And I bombed at everything but I bombed at every one of Ingleby's ones.
Okay, so like mostly the outside gigs, like basically.
Yeah.
So have you bombed at an inside gig or not really?
I got at least some laughs for like my first inside gig.
Nice. Where was your first inside
But
gig?
then I talked about hentai and people don't People don't laugh.
It's a way to lose a crowd. My special interest is hentai.
I was at the Revelry and
Revelry hentai.
But But basically, I don't know. It's fine.
Do you watch hentai?
No.
How'd you got that joke idea? Like just randomly?
Because I know people who watch hentai on Discord.
Of course, that's the place where people watch.
Have you ever done like I did a few when it was like COVID and stuff, like you're on like a Zoom call, like open mic?
No,
like, through Discord or something?
I've only done this for a year.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, no, I've never done those.
And the reason
you never did the like workshop once?
And the reason why I won why I probably won at the Classic is because of the fact that there are people who are funnier than me, definitely, but they kind of had their other alternative platforms and other followings, and the Classic, I think, has a bit of an incentive to want to pick one of its own.
Yeah.
Would you say which one you feel is your best one? Like, was it your semis or your finals?
Semis.
Nice.
Yeah.
Semis.
Do they publish the final or no?
They didn't do this time.
They like live.
They used to live stream and then record it actually.
I should have asked someone, but maybe there's a recording of it somewhere.
Do you have a recording of your semi-final?
No, I don't think so.
And I often don't like to hear myself speak because I don't like the sound of my voice.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna hate this podcast.
That's fine.
Are you gonna listen to the podcast or not? You're like, nah.
Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
That's fine.
I don't listen to a surprising amount of things that do contain my voice.
Yeah, fair. No, that's fair enough. It's a hard thing to get.
It's a hard thing. You're like, whoa.
But what I notice is I usually talk in a way that is kind of very nasally, and that's always been noticeable to people.
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
Nasally and slow, and slow and almost robotic. Very monotone. That's basically the universal feedback I've gotten.
Really?
Although I can vary the pitch.
The slow isn't necessarily bad.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes, but...
Yeah, it is, especially for a podcast like this where you're trying to get someone's attention and the person just drones on and on.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he's trying to say makes sense. Like, you can't be like, alright.
I know, I think I have an issue where I'll go too fast sometimes. I think if you go too fast, it just shows nervousness, I think.
Well, I think everyone does that. Like, everyone goes too fast sometimes. Have you ever been like, I can do everything, you know? I'm a hard worker, team player.
Yeah.
I know my strengths and weaknesses.
Are you a sober person? Or
Yeah? Yep,
yeah,
I don't drink.
Yeah.
You never have?
I very rarely drink. Last time I drank was about 3 months ago.
Okay.
Oh, okay, nice.
Okay.
Like the take break. Yeah, I'm just like imagining like that set, but you're drunk at the semi-finals.
I don't have the best impulse control, and I don't really want to see myself when I'm that drunk. But that's all good. I could be drunk one day when I do it. But honestly, like I'd be so much slower.
Yeah. Just. What's next for you? Have you signed up for gigs? Have you got like?
I've signed up for gigs. Scott giving me some offers.
Oh yeah, so you're gonna do like the Wednesday shows and everything, and
maybe I'll have to check when the dates are. But I'm not like a pro comedian. I'm not one of the pros. There's a lot of other pros.
Mm-hmm.
You've made more money doing comedy than I think a lot of the comics out
there. Sometimes people stick to their material too often, and sometimes people feel very nervous to change it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people kind of like have a warped sense of what is actually funny. Yeah. For instance, a lot of people who come from very liberal circles, what will they say? I'm just trying to think. People
Patriarchy.
They'll talk about that as well, but it kind of goes like what liberal people will say is they'll say that there's a lot of ironic humor. I notice there's a sense of OMG, I want the patriarchy to do that to me so much, Daddy. That would be a line that they would say, and they might mistakenly think that in their particular friend group, since people find that funny, that it will translate to a wider audience. But it doesn't always do that. And with conservatives, it's kind of like something you say being misinterpreted as being racist, and make a joke about it being misinterpreted as racist. But those things don't always apply to like wider audiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's a here's the thing. I don't think you should be on any side when you're doing comedy. You just stay in the middle. Like, just make fun of everything.
I'm obviously on the left side, and my comedy has been more preachy than others, but that's all good.
Yeah, well,
it's alright. I mean, you just got to do the comedy you want to do.
Yeah, you can do. Like, it's like. Maybe
it's authentic to you and your viewpoints. You can do it.
Well,
it's like you got to be prepared that some people aren't going to enjoy it if they have opposite views.
Although I did kind of just say that I think Wellington people have lower verbal intelligence. Although I think about that a lot of the time when it comes to
just come a little forward.
I think about that a lot of the time when it comes to neurodiverse people, including myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you seem quite smart.
No, not really.
Really?
No, and I misinterpret things all the time.
Yeah. But we all do.
Well, we all do, but like in general, like
in
general, like we all.
And it's not coming from being neurodiverse necessarily. That means you have lower verbal intelligence. It's maybe being neurodiverse plus being too assimilated into certain groups where it's kind of like you can't really, you can't understand certain words or tones of behaviour that.
What are you? Okay, so I have this question. You're welcome to not to answer, but what are your stance on people using the R word?
Well, Elliot did it, and it's okay. I don't really care if people use the R word.
Well, cool.
Although people will be offended by it, there's
I think it depends upon the context, like how you use it.
Well, I think you can use it. You just got to be ready to face the consequences.
I mean, basically, you can't have your ego too close to your sleeve with these sorts of things. I'm not going to say that you should parrot the R word indefinitely. I don't think that. And people kind of they use it in a way that isn't funny, and they use it in a way that kind of just shits on people, and people aren't always going to like that. And then people want to turn into that as being them being offended, when in actual fact they just found what you thought was not funny.
Yeah. Well, it's like people say, I have really edgy humor. Yeah, but you also need to know where you are right now. You can't just be like at a family dinner, just say like,
well, there's a social skill when it comes to this.
People don't realize that, like, oh, I have really edgy humor. Like, but also
and people who say they have really edgy humor, a lot of them want to go onto comedy shows and gigs and express blatant malice. And it's like, because they want to be fucking validated, and they expect to find an audience that will do that for them, and the audience doesn't.
Yeah. Well, it's like the free speech guys. Like, I like the idea of free speech, but I don't like necessarily some of the people who are always talking about it.
Well, it's like why you have to use your free speech to just spread hate? You know, you
like who, for example?
A lot of like
people on Twitter,
like right wing, like kind of political activists,
because
like,
they care about their own speech.
Yeah, they care about their speech, but it's like, yeah, you got to have freedom to say, like, or it's like you get those people where it's like, yeah, freedom of speech drops the N-word or kind of thing.
Because
like,
they're in right wing groups, those free speech warriors. It's not that they're shitty people or that they don't believe what they're going to believe, but they don't want to say anything that might upset the balance, so they always will just basically parrot right-wing viewpoints, even if those viewpoints are censoring freedom of speech. They'll just stay silent on it, because people don't want to budge against what's their social group or their in-group. It's the same thing with a lot of left-wing people, and it makes people cowards.
Well, I feel like, like people are a lot more... ideology. Oh, what's it called? Ideology.
It's not about ideology. It's not about ideology. It's about which group do they identify with.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when people pick a certain side, they will think in a certain direction. They'll always think right, or they'll always think left on every given single issue.
Well, that's what they're kind of saying with this election in the States at the moment. Is it's become a real boys versus girls election, where it's like Donald Trump's appealing a lot more to the male voter base, where
that's obviously exagerated, but
I think it's like, a little exaggerated
because you got the abortion issues. That's why they're all going for.
But a lot of dudes, you know, care about their own sense of identity and who they are. But
I think it's just probably like you heard on the internet, but like there's so much shit stirring up on the internet every fucking day, you know, like.
Oh no, I think I was reading like. Financial Times was saying it. Like, it is
it's basically it's changed quite a bit how gender plays into presidential politics, but women do not like Donald Trump because obviously their rights have been taken away under him, and abortion issue and whatnot, and
I think he's just funny.
With men, there's like an overriding sense of insecurity about where they're going to be. When you say he's just funny, what do you mean?
Just the way he's a little bit like just on stage, he'll just say random shit like, we're gonna do this, but that's never gonna happen. Like,
what's appealing about him is he doesn't come across
a politic,
like he's got the TV host kind of charisma in a way.
See, I see people who say that they'd vote for Donald Trump just because he's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
I see a lot of guys who say that, but they're not motivated by humor. They're not motivated by the fact that they think Donald Trump is funny. They're motivated by who Donald Trump's targets are against, and they're often against the people that make them feel very insecure about their state of the world. Like, say, for instance, feminists, for example, people who are like very liberal. And there's an overriding sense that a lot of men have in the US about losing a formerly hegemonic state that they would have had.
Yeah.
Not that it's always hegemonic, it isn't always. But basically, it's not humor that motivates those kinds of people who say they vote for Donald Trump because he's funny. They want to appear to not give a shit about politics because they think that's like the best stance.
That's a really good fucking observation.
It's like... they care about their standing and their state in the world. That motivates them more. That motivates them. Like, I've seen people, you know, who get very upset when they like perceive themselves to be rejected by women or something like that.
Yeah, I can see what he's saying. That's fucking. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, that's a good observation.
Maybe it isn't. And there's like an inverse. There's an inverse with women as well, where a lot of women who like support the Democrats will just kind of like
do that because
I think a lot of politics is around charisma in a way.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. A lot of people aren't really making decisions based on policy. It's charisma.
Yeah.
Like, it is.
Yeah.
Who you feel like you resonate with more.
That's true.
Where it's like I feel like humans' very basic
of
social thing is like you want to follow the leader who you feel more comfortable with. Like
it's like I think all three of us we hear about politics, but none of us have been like motivated to go to a political rally. You know, like I'm that crazy about this guy. You know.
I don't know. Well, I don't think New Zealand, like, they do some, but
New Zealand isn't totally based on political personalities, but I think it's heading in that direction.
It's definitely, Well, I think politicians almost want it to be like that, though.
They do.
The thing.
That's why, they want to have a big personality, and that's part of the reason why Labour is struggling so much, because they're trying to make it about political personalities and who's in their ranks. So they keep publicising what their different MPs are doing.
Yeah.
But what they should actually be doing is decentering themselves and just like doing interviews with people who are adversely affected by new governmental policies, and like just give them the camera, not give the camera to themselves.
Not everything is about them. Okay, that's good.
So basically, but they struggle to do that, and people don't like when they see just fucking AstroTurf, shoved into their face of very mediocre politicians who keep getting highlighted.
Well, politics is very similar to like comedy or like stage business, and there's a bit of narcissism to it. Like they want the story about them. That's the thing.
But you can't expect that. So, but basically, what essentially happens is like this: the Labour Party selects their MPs for different areas based on LECs, which are kind of like they're very sort of almost cultish groups where the MP is at the head of like a clique and the head of a table, and you'd have like a table of about people in their 60s. Going down to people in their 20s who select them as a candidate, and they often have this very weird hierarchical structure where you're meant to show extreme deference to the MP.
Well, it's like I think my one of my friends' parents were kind of involved in a group like that where it was like super like that.
And
I feel like it's lame to get super into.
And basically gradually the people who are more principally motivated, they kind of like keep that on the down low, or they get shafted out.
Well, have you ever considered doing something like
I've been involved. I've always been involved in Young Labour.
Yeah, Young Labour.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I met like a Young Nat guy once, and that was quite.
Well, we had a lot of Young Labour guys at the uni. I remember we had like so many.
I met this one at Bar 101, and he's like, "Oh, you can't tell anyone you saw me here."
Well, you can't drink.
Wait, not really. No.
Who was this?
This was like years ago, like before COVID, when I was freshly 18. I can't even remember his name. No, he was like, "Yeah, man, like I can't have any." I don't know. He was almost bragging about it to me. Like, I'll get so much trouble if they know I'm. But you know what I'm saying?
Why you can't drink as a politician? Like if you're part of.
You can drink, but you can't.
It's like image. Your image goes.
There's an image thing to it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's. It's very hierarchical, and in different countries, if you're like the head of a party, you can be removed as a candidate. You can remove someone as a candidate if they take too much airtime.
Well, like they did that. Well, take too much airtime. Well, I guess. I mean, some people use airtime though. Like ACT basically is.
But it's always
all their thing off.
But no, with ACT, it's always David Seymour.
Yeah.
Or it's basically, if you're an MP, you're expected to stay in line all the time. You can't outshine David.
You can't actually David. The things he does every day, like it's hard to outshine.
That's what and that's how he likes it. He doesn't.
I think he knows that he's playing the dumb guy, and like.
It's a strategy, man.
Like, it's a strategy. Like people don't realize, why is he so dumb? No, he knows that if he keeps on doing that, he's gonna get that attention. Well, recently he said like it's okay to have Nazi symbols outside your house because it makes me find out who is a Nazi. Yeah, but like
not outside your house. I think he's talking about the tattoos.
I think also like in the thing he's also mentioned about the house thing like further. But like whatever, like it's like what he's saying is like not making sense, but also like it is kind of.
Even then, I'm not really in favour of government banning stuff.
They're banning like gang patches. So.
Yeah, well, I'm not even really in favour of that, to be honest.
That's fine, whatever.
Yeah, because it's just kind of like reactionary shit.
It doesn't really make a difference. It's just being a dick. And you know where it's like, these are very negative political things. But like, it can always turn around where it's like you can't. Like if you can ban one symbol, then you can ban all of them in a way.
Like what would be the other symbol you're talking about? Like if they ban Nazi symbols, what's
you got like parties like in other countries historically, like they're banned just having other parties
Hammer and sickle, that would be the obvious one.
Yeah, hammer and sickle, or I don't know.
Well, Connor's trying to say he has a Nazi symbol on his chest.
No, I don't have a Nazi symbol.
I'm kidding.
I don't want to see Nazi symbols and shit. But it's like, what, you're going to throw someone in jail
for having a Nazi symbol?
They got a tattoo of a Nazi.
Yeah, that does.
I mean, they're a nasty person though. Like, they probably are a nasty person, but
unless and until if you think, it's like you think about a bank heist, but if you haven't done a bank heist, you can't put someone in jail, right?
Yeah.
Like you can go to a cop and be like, I'm gonna do this, but if you haven't done this, they can't do anything.
The reason a lot of people in New Zealand got it and stuff was because it was a fear tactic. Like, it was, what's the scariest thing I can get tattooed on me that will make people nervous? And it's like,
well, I think
the evil is symbol in history and stuff.
What about?
I don't know. Maybe they should ban it. I don't know. It's
either way. It's not going to be something that will materially affect or improve people's lives.
But it's funny how they just run with it as a political issue and stuff, and it just distracts from other things.
I mean, I think we were saying the scariest thing. I think wearing a gang jacket is also pretty scary. It's scary as a fear tactic, but it's also like when you see someone with that jacket, you're like, yeah, I'm not supposed to fuck with this guy. You just, even he could be looking like the most friendliest guy, but like you're like, let's just walk at the different direction. It's better. I don't know. But
then imagine, I don't know. It's just weird. Well, it's just like, I don't know. I guess it does they want to break gangs' sense of community up. Is the thing. They don't want them to have a sense of community.
Well, it's like I think like having a Nazi community is not a good thing, regardless. Like having.
Saying a Nazi community, I was saying
it's not going to work though.
But I'm like,
it's not going to work though. It's just trying to appeal to.
It's also like, I don't think gangs will stop wearing it. Like,
it's just it's just going to appeal to like boomers and.
Yeah, it's just something.
People who like read the newspapers.
What was the last
thing? I haven't really seen any. I know maybe this is just privilege, but I barely ever see any patches or anything. Like,
yeah, I've seen some, not much.
I think I've seen it like a handful of times.
The symbol?
Well, like wearing the things and stuff.
Yeah, I see more in like smaller towns.
Oh no, it's a fear.
I think in Nelson there were like people at their houses had like Nazi flags outside their houses.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
A while back, Nelson,
Maybe we should give it. I don't know. It's just a fucking.
People sometimes want to do a bit of a fuck you to the world, but
yeah. But it's like, they're just doing it to get a reaction. That's the thing. Like,
fair enough. Do we want to conclude? Or?
Yeah, we can finish.
Do you have any questions for us before we conclude?
No, not yet. Finish it.
Okay. But thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. Check out Jasper. Do you have any social media or anything at the moment?
Oh, you can check me out if you want.